Philippians chapter 4. I know that everyone, as they come any Sunday, this Sunday isn't anything unique in that everyone comes every Sunday, at least some do, coming with various types of demands and burdens and pains and problems and things that it kind of weigh us down, right? I don't know, at any congregation in the world, at any given time, there's a certain percentage of people that are struggling with negative attitudes because of various and sundry things that are happening at home, at work, at church, in your community. And so you find yourself in various levels of darkness and thoughts of running somewhere to escape the growing burdens that we all bear, or some way to neutralize it, some way to medicate it, some way to, there's a word for it, but I'm forgetting how to say anesthetize, something like that. It's a tough word, isn't it? It's even harder when you're sitting up here. But, just kind of medicate it, and so the trouble is that it's like a black hole. And the more we focus on that, the more it pulls us into it till we cannot see anymore. Someone has said that when you're in a rut, you can't see a whole lot. And that's use whatever kind of metaphor that will work for you. But I know I'm talking to people who know exactly what I'm talking about, because none of us are exempt from this black hole of negativity and judgmentalism and darkness, which leads us nowhere. There's two questions that will define your future and my future. By the way, did we have the title of the sermon up? Oh yeah, Overcoming Stinking Thinking. Stinking thinking. Again, this is a disease known to all. Everyone is susceptible to stinking thinking. And again, to various levels of percentage at any given congregation, at any given time, all over the world, there are folks struggling with stinking thinking. So two questions are going to define your future in regards to the stinking thinking. Question number one is going to be, can you? Can you? That question defines what is your abilities. There's some things I'll never be able to do. I'll never be able to dunk a basketball. I'll never be able to play pro football for the Lions. I don't know. I might be able to do that. No, you know what I'm saying. There are certain things that I can't do because my ability will not allow me to do them. So that will define my future. The second question is, will you? Will you? This describes attitude. And the attitude that we have is, and couple that with our abilities, will be the difference between success and failure. Because it's amazing that even though with sometimes limited abilities, if we have the right attitude, we can do amazing things. Amazing things. And how many of us are limited and we're stuck in that rut and we're stuck in that black hole because of our attitude that we can't do it. Which, by the way, when we look at our abilities, sometimes we limit our ability to just us. And yet, maybe a week or two, I don't know where it's at, we're going to look at Philippians 4:13, where Paul says, I can do all things, how? Through Christ who strengthens me. That's how he can do all things. So we got some trump cards to our abilities. And sometimes we limit our abilities to just us and not God. And we wonder why we stay in that rut, because I can't get out of it. That's because of our attitude, not because of our abilities. And so, our mind continues to work. Your mind is working. Your mind is working right now. It might be working in the rut. It might be working in the clouds. It might be working in the light. I don't know. I don't know. When you go to bed and you lay your head down on the pillow at night, it doesn't even stop then. Your mind continues to work, doesn't it? Some of you can't sleep because you're into this stinking thinking. Your mind is like this machine and the gears are just churning all night long. And you're not sleeping because you're in this darkness. You have no peace even when you lay your head down at night to go to bed and sleep doesn't come. And you wonder, how am I going to get out? When this dark, negative, critical, dark judgmentalism, this stinking thinking is just, it's just overcoming. And maybe, like I said, I don't know where you're at. Maybe up here, maybe all the way down in the pit. I don't know. But that's where you're headed if you don't change your stinking thinking. We're all headed there. Well, maybe you need some definition, okay? We're going to look at this relationally because stinking thinking is pervasive. It covers all kinds of things. But I'm going to look at it relationally today. Stinking thinking begins with worthlessness. I stink. I stink means I have no peace within myself. Then there's lovelessness, and that means you stink. That means I have no peace with other people. I stink, and you stink. And then it leads us to bitterness. That means life stinks. I have no peace with God, and everything in life stinks. And by the way, these stinks kind of link together. There's a link to the stink. And the fact of the matter is, if you think that all life stinks and you have no peace with God, then more than likely you stink and others stink too. And this is stinking thinking. I stink, you stink, and everybody else stinks, and the life stinks. When that happens, it's going to rob our peace. We'll have no peace with ourselves, we'll have no peace with others, we have no peace with God. And so, enter the Apostle Paul, who encourages us all to have an attitude that will transcend our circumstances, that transcends these interpersonal relations, that transcends the enemy continuing to barrage us with all these lies day after day about ourselves, about others, and about God, which is the source of our stinking thinking. Philippians chapter 4 is the antidote. Paul gives us the antidote to stinking thinking, which, by the way, please don't forget, Philippians chapter 4 began with Paul dealing with this problem between Euodia and Syntyche. Those two gals that had a fuss, and there was division. They were coming against each other, and he was appealing to the church to bring these two together. So there was stinking thinking beginning in this church between these two sisters. And Paul goes on, and he's describing how we need to be and how we need to think about God and about each other and about ourselves. And so this culminates this relational section here where he says, finally. How many times does Paul say finally in the letter of Philippians? Check it out sometime. But he's saying finally, not in regards to the whole letter, but in regards to this point, this relational point. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you've learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice. Do what I'm doing. And then the God of peace will be with you. Tom's translation of that. You'll be out of the rut. You'll be out of the black hole. You'll be out again amongst the light. And you'll be able to see things again the way that God sees them. So that's what I want to look at today, this whole mind thing. And again, Paul over and over again says this begins in the mind. And we see this played out over and over again in Paul's writings, don't we? It all begins in the mind. How in the world does the enemy get you to think you stink and that others stink and that life stinks and God stinks? He's a liar. He's a master of lies. He's the master of deception. I love Jeff. He said something about the victory that we have, right? We're victorious people. Yet we live like we're defeated people. I use we very generically. I'm not necessarily talking to anybody in here. I don't know. Let the Holy Spirit talk to you. But I know that for a fact, that oftentimes Christians walk and live as defeated people, thinking everything in this world stinks. How does he do that? How does he get us to move from victory ground to defeat? He lies. He lies, and we're all susceptible to his lies. And we believe the lie, and we feel justified in our thoughts, in our passions, and in our actions.